The wise poet Mary Oliver says, "I don't know exactly what prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel into the grass, how to be idle and blessed." We live in a world that really values what we do, and not so much our ability to be present, to pay attention, to be blessed with the reminder of our sacredness by holy hands. I think this gospel story is meant to help us find a peaceful balance between our doing and our being, to help us on the one hand enact the great responsibility of having our words and works reflect love, and on the other, to fall down into the grass and be idle and blessed by the presence of the holy. I wonder, when I read this gospel story, what Martha's week has been like. We often read this passage and make the assumption that what has her stressed is the work of hospitality to Jesus and his disciples, and perhaps that is exactly what's on her mind. But we are given very little context. We aren't even certain of the setting. The Greek tells us that she welcomed him, but that in her house part is implied and not stated. The work she is about, in the Greek diakonia, might mean service and hospitality, but it also might mean ministry. Biblical perspective, especially here in Luke, especially directly following the reading of the Good Samaritan that we heard last week, will tell us that this work, whether it is hospitality or ministry to the sick and poor, is valued and important. But something has gone awry. She's distracted or troubled. The words Jesus used, worried and distracted, in Greek are closer to anxious and panicked, and are written in a tense that denotes an ongoing state. She wasn't momentarily distracted, but has been experiencing overwhelm for some time. What is it that has overwhelmed her? What has her feeling so alone? She is longing for something. It comes out in complaint here. Tell my sister to help me. But really, I think the deep longing is, I want to feel less alone. I want support. I want to feel like what I'm doing really matters. This isn't an unfamiliar feeling, right? In both big and small ways, I think we know all about what Martha is feeling. Acts of service can feel thankless. It can often be tiring, seem endless, and feel invisible. They often have us wondering, are we good enough? Are we wise enough? Are we dedicated enough? Are we enough? And whether it's vacuuming the hallway that will again be filled with pine needles next week, or grassroots organizing for social justice in a culture that just doesn't seem to change, the unending and unseenness of it can leave us feeling overwhelmed and wanting to throw in the towel. All of these acts of service, they are beautiful and they are good, but they are not meant to leave us feeling alone and disconnected from the holy. They are meant to flow from that connection, not disrupt it. So this is where Jesus meets her. Martha, Martha. To us, I think that sounds kind of scolding or exasperated, but culturally, this double meaning is a sign of affection or care. Martha, my dear one, I see the weariness and the overwhelm. I see you. I see how alone you feel. I see how much this work has you forgetting your value, the depth of love I have for you, your worth apart from the tasks that busy your hands. Your work is deeply important, but right now, in this overwhelmed place in your heart, one thing is most important, that you rest in love. If we are to stay true to the context of Luke, there is no way that Jesus is valuing Mary's way of being over Martha's here. The work of ministry and service is an ongoing theme. But in this moment, in the turmoil of Martha's heart, resting at the feet of love is the more important thing. We all have a Martha part of us. It is the doer, and it is needed, and it is marvelous. But in this world that sets value by what we do and accomplish, that part of us often feels deficient, and striving for good work becomes anxiety, overwhelm, and bitterness. And it is in these moments when we start to feel grumbly and undone, that we need to find our Mary. We need to sit ourselves down and lean into the gentle healer who whispers worth and love and rest into our ears. But we can't live in our Mary part indefinitely either. I imagine on another day, Jesus would say something like, Mary, Mary, my dear one, I delight in you. It is important that you remember this love, but right now in this quiet place in your heart, I want you to find your voice. I want you to get strength in your hands and share this love with the world. It is a dance between the two parts of us, our Marthas who see and respond to the needs of the world, and our Marys who know when to be held in the arms of love, who know how to be present to holiness in our midst. Jesus is asking that we tend to them both, in ourselves and each other, because Martha is right. We are not meant to do this work alone. Sky, Robin, Iris, and their grown-ups are about to walk through the rite of baptism, and in that remind us of our covenant, the roadmap that directs our path. And much of that covenant is about doing. Much of it calls to the Martha in us to proclaim good news, to love our neighbor, to respect the dignity of every human being, to strive for justice and peace. But all of those acts of doing follow two things. First, a reminder that we believe. We believe that the powerful God who created the universe, everything, holds each and every one of us with profound love. And second, a promise to continue in the apostles' teaching, the fellowship, and the breaking of the bread and of the prayers. That is a promise to remain in those things that remind us and put us in the presence of love. It is from that groundedness of love that all of the other work flows. So this is my prayer for each of us, and particularly today for Sky, Robin, and Iris, who I'm hoping could stand up with their grown-ups. Yes, this is my prayer. May you, Sky, Robin, and Iris, every day take a moment or two or three to be present to the love in your midst. May you sit at love's feet and be filled with the knowledge of your preciousness. May you know that you are delighted in, all of you, worries and joys alike are seen and held. And knowing that love, may you also have joyous moments of Martha-ness, of service and work in which you're proclaiming and you're dignifying and you're justice striving changes this world. Amen.